Scorpio, you are falling into something so big, so divinely timed, that even heaven itself is asking you to pause. God is not whispering this time, He is begging you to stop. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because what comes next is too sacred to rush. If you're watching this, know that it's not a random click. This isn't a coincidence. It's a divine appointment, a holy encounter arranged by the stars, aligned by the energy of the cosmos, and blessed by the voice of the living God. Have you felt it lately? That quiet, almost unexplainable shift in the air around you? Like something massive is unfolding behind the scenes of your life, and yet you're not quite sure what it is. As if you're being carried by a force larger than your own effort, but part of you is still trying to steer. That tension is real, Scorpio. And it's spiritual. Right now, Pluto, your ruling planet, the alchemist of destruction and rebirth, is forming a rare and disruptive quincunx with the Sun. This cosmic alignment is pulling your soul between two realms, your human will and your divine calling. And when heaven sees that you're about to push through a threshold you're not ready to cross, it speaks up. Not in punishment. In protection. And that's why this message found you. Because it's time to pause, not to quit, not to give up, but to surrender. Scorpio, you are the soul warrior. The phoenix. The one who can rise from ashes others run from. But even warriors need to be reminded, there are some doors only God can open. Some miracles only flow when your hands are still. Some breakthroughs only arrive when you stop running and start listening. So this is your invitation to pause. To stop striving. To stop forcing. To take a breath, and let God take the lead. And if this resonates even slightly, I urge you to type the number 888 in the comments right now. It's more than a number. It's a declaration to the universe. It says, I'm ready. I surrender. I trust the timing of what's unfolding. It aligns you with divine abundance and spiritual transformation. If you're still here, it's because your soul already knows what your mind is just beginning to understand. You were brought here on purpose. And I'm honored you're here. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing this message into your day. Every like, every comment, every time you hit subscribe, you're not just supporting this channel. You're expanding the collective field of faith, light, and conscious awakening that miracle of the sign was created to hold. And Scorpio, believe me, will want to stay with me until the very end of this video. What the universe is preparing to reveal to you is not only unexpected, it's life-defining. So take a breath, lean in, and let's begin. What you're about to discover was never meant to pass you by. You were meant to hear this. Right here. Right now. Scorpio, if you're feeling torn between the urge to press forward and a quiet inner voice asking you to pause, you're not imagining it. Something real is happening in the sky, and even more profoundly, something sacred is stirring inside of you. Right now, Pluto, your ruling planet, is in a quincunx with the Sun. In astrology, this alignment is not dramatic like a square or a conjunction, it's more subtle, but no less powerful. It represents a deep inner tension, a misalignment between your conscious self and your soul's truth. And for you, Scorpio, whose entire identity is built on depth, transformation, and truth, this is no small conflict. It's not just about external events. It's about who is in control of the steering wheel, your will or God's. This tension is the soul's exam paper. The kind that can't be crammed for or solved with logic. It shows up in your life as restlessness, as feeling like you're doing everything right, but something still feels off. You may be feeling unusually tired, uncertain, or like your usual sense of inner certainty has slipped just out of reach. That is Pluto's whisper, let go, so you can be reborn. But when that whisper meets the solar energy of your ego, the identity that wants to keep moving, keep conquering, keep holding on, the result is friction. And friction, when left unexamined, turns to inner chaos. This isn't punishment. It's alignment. Imagine yourself walking on a thin, invisible thread, one side grounded in the material world, the other side floating in the spiritual realm. That's what this alignment feels like. You're still here, paying bills, managing relationships, navigating emotions, but part of you is being called into stillness, into mystery, into spiritual recalibration. That's why nothing you try to fix externally right now seems to work. Because the shift required is within. It's not a problem to solve, it's a threshold to cross. In tarot, this exact energy is mirrored by two powerful archetypes, the Chariot in reverse, and the Hermit. The Chariot reversed is not a failure, it's a redirection. It says, you can't drive this path forward in the same way anymore. The Hermit is not loneliness, it is divine solitude. It is stepping back, not to withdraw, but to gain divine perspective. When these two cards appear together, especially under this astrological influence, the message is unmistakable: don't rush. Go within. The map is being rewritten. And maybe you're thinking, but if I stop, I'll fall behind. I'll lose momentum. I'll disappoint someone. And yet, deep down, there's a knowing in you, a quiet, almost aching awareness that if you don't pause now, you might miss the deeper purpose behind all your recent struggles. That's where divine timing enters. That's where faith, not religion, but trust becomes the bridge. Sometimes, God's most loving instruction doesn't come in a booming voice or a dramatic sign. It comes like this: a video you didn't expect to click, a message you didn't know you needed to hear. It comes in the form of exhaustion that won't lift no matter how hard you push. It comes in a door that won't open until you learn to knock differently. It comes when you surrender, not as defeat, but as sacred agreement. The kind that says, I trust that you see what I can't. I let go of the fight. This sacred pause is not meant to weaken you. It's meant to deepen you. The power that makes you Scorpio, the power to rise from your own ashes, is not found in how hard you push. It's found in how deeply you trust your own death and rebirth cycle. This is that moment. Your soul signed up for it. The heavens are aligning to support it. But only you can say yes. So if your chest is tightening and your breath feels shallow, just stop. Let the message breathe. Let your spirit catch up. You don't need to fix anything right now. You only need to listen. God's voice is still and small. It speaks not to your performance, but to your surrender. And right now, it's saying, my beloved child, do not go further unless I walk with you. Pause. Breathe. Say yes to stillness. Because on the other side of this divine stop sign is the miracle you stopped praying for when you got tired of waiting. If you feel this, comment below with the number 888. Not as a gimmick, but as a sacred declaration. I surrender to divine timing. This moment was made for you. Don't miss what heaven is aligning simply because earth is rushing. Stay. Listen. Let God show you the way only He can. Scorpio, the universe isn't asking you to give up. It's inviting you to realign. And right now, that invitation comes through the most counterintuitive of messages: stop. In a world that glorifies constant movement, where doing more is seen as the path to getting more, choosing to stop intentionally, consciously, reverent becomes an act of deep spiritual courage. But this isn't about giving in. It's about tuning in. Think of your body like a system of energy. When it's overloaded too many expectations, emotions, decisions, or anxieties, it starts to glitch, just like a computer that's been left running too long without rest. The screen may still light up, but behind the scenes, the system slows down, the fan overheats, and eventually, it crashes. Your spirit is no different. And right now, this moment of sacred pause is your energetic reset. Pausing doesn't mean weakness. It means you're wise enough to notice the internal traffic jam before it turns into a breakdown. The law of attraction teaches that we do not attract what we want, we attract who we are being. And if we're constantly in a state of striving, hustling, and running from one moment to the next, our frequency becomes that of scarcity, urgency, and fear. But when we stop, even briefly, we shift into receptivity. That's where miracles happen. That's where grace flows. I want to offer you a simple but powerful practice. For the next 7 days, take 5 minutes each morning to do absolutely nothing. No phone. No to-do list. No agenda. Just breathe. Sit in stillness. Listen to the quiet. Notice the breath entering and leaving your body. Notice how the world doesn't fall apart when you pause. In fact, this small act of stillness creates the space for divine energy to move through you again. And if you're open to writing, begin your day by putting pen to paper with one simple sentence: Dear God, I am ready to stop. Let that be the doorway. From there, let your truth pour out: your fears, your hopes, your longing to rest, your desire to be led. This isn't about journaling for productivity. It's about journaling for surrender. For reconnection. For clarity that doesn't come from the outside world but from the whispers within. You see, some of the most powerful turning points in history didn't begin with action, they began with stillness. Think of Moses, who didn't walk into his divine calling by charging forward, but by standing still before a burning bush. It was only in that sacred moment of silence, of awe, of presence, that he could hear the voice that would change everything. Scorpio, your burning bush may not look like flames in the desert. It may look like a quiet morning. A restless evening. A moment where the chaos of your life goes quiet just long enough for you to hear what's truly calling you forward. If you are walking through anxiety, depression, or that heavy, unnameable feeling of disconnection, know that stopping may be the very beginning of your healing. Because when we are constantly in motion, we often outrun the very feelings that need to be witnessed. Stillness is not the enemy. Stillness is the space where your soul remembers who you are without all the roles, masks, and pressures. It's where the parts of you that are tired can finally rest. And in that rest, you begin to rebuild, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. And as this moment unfolds, Hear again the gentle words from Psalm 46 verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. These aren't just words, they are a spiritual frequency. They are a call back to center. Back to alignment. Back to trust. So, Scorpio, stop not because you're weak, not because you're failing, but because you're wise. Because you sense, in your deepest knowing, that what's coming next cannot be forced. It can only be received. Let this be your sacred pause. Let this be your realignment. And watch how, in the stopping, everything begins again. Scorpio, you may not realize it yet, but the universe is speaking to you in a language older than words through numbers, colors, vibrations. Right now, you're not just moving through time, you're moving through a sequence, a code, a divine pattern designed to guide your soul through transformation. This week, that pattern is encoded in 3 sacred numbers 7, 8, and 9, and each one is showing up for you as a spiritual checkpoint, a cosmic password unlocking an invisible door. The number 7 has long been considered the number of inner wisdom. It whispers of solitude, introspection, spiritual initiation. It is not about reaching out but about returning inward. This number appears when your spirit is being called into deeper knowing, not of the world, but of your purpose within it. If you've been feeling withdrawn, emotionally quiet, or oddly uninterested in the noise of life, this is not a flaw. It is an invitation. You're being called to step away, not to escape, but to listen. To recalibrate. To reset your compass, not by external direction, but by the quiet pulse of your own soul. Then comes 8, the number of power, of wealth, but not the kind you chase in the world. This is about alignment with the spiritual economy, where the currency is trust, focus, and energetic consistency. 8 is the infinite loop. It reminds you that what you give, you receive. What you believe, you attract. This week, Scorpio, if you've been doubting your ability to manifest, to build, or to overcome financial fears, 8 is here to reassure you. The golden thread of prosperity is already woven through your timeline, but only when you stop chasing and begin embodying. Prosperity doesn't respond to desperation. It flows to certainty. Your worth is not up for negotiation. It's encoded in your being. And finally, number 9. This is where the tears often come. Where release becomes holy. 9 is not an ending, it's the sacred unraveling before the rebirth. The closing of chapters, not because you failed, but because your soul has outgrown the old narrative. Relationships may feel stretched. Emotions may rise unexpectedly. But this is the number of emotional graduation. Of karmic completions. If you've been feeling a quiet ache for closure or a longing to release something you've held for too long, 9 is here to help you grieve, not from fear, but from gratitude. You made it this far. And now, you're being prepared for the next version of you. Together, 789 form a bridge. A threshold. You're standing at the end of an old frequency and the beginning of something breathtakingly new. That's why your energy may feel in between, like you don't fully belong to the past but haven't quite stepped into the future. You are in what I call the hallway of initiation, the space between the door that's closing and the one that's about to open. And it's okay if it feels uncomfortable. Most sacred transitions do. And this is where color comes in, not as fashion, but as frequency. This week, the universe is asking you to wear, visualize, or meditate with 3 specific colors. Bronze gold for your financial field, helping you magnetize confidence and stability. Sapphire blue for your spiritual body, helping you speak your truth and stand in divine protection. And deep lavender for your heart, helping you open to vulnerability, connection, and emotional healing. These colors aren't just shades. They are signals. They are vibrational companions walking with you through the transformation. So pause here, Scorpio, and take a moment to ask yourself, where am I on the bridge of 789? What do I need to release? What power do I need to reclaim? What wisdom do I need to remember? Let this be your practice of self-honesty. Let this be your mirror. If you feel this message resonating, I invite you to comment below with the words, "I am ready to cross the gate of 789. This isn't about numerology for entertainment. This is about energetic agreement. When you speak those words, you are not just declaring a decision, you are activating a new timeline. The universe listens. And your voice matters. This week is not random. These numbers are not random. You are not random. You are coded with purpose. And right now, the codes are unlocking because your soul is ready. Scorpio, by now you've likely felt the weight of the inner shift, the slow but undeniable pull away from control and into surrender. This is not about giving up, this is about giving over. There comes a time on every soul's journey where you are no longer asked to steer the ship, but to trust the current. And this, dear one, is that moment. You were never meant to force open doors that were divinely timed to unlock. You were never meant to carry the burden of knowing exactly how every detail of your life will unfold. You were meant to become the kind of vessel that attracts what is already written in your stars, not by striving, but by aligning. In the law of attraction, there is a sacred paradox that most people misunderstand. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. When you are anxious, frantic, controlling, even when your desires are good, your energy vibrates in lack, in distrust, in resistance. But when you stop trying to make it happen, and instead become the version of yourself who already trusts that it will, you shift everything. The miracle doesn't come when you push harder. The miracle comes when you become a match for peace. A match for joy. A match for the frequency of divine timing. Imagine a man in the middle of a desert, thirsty and desperate. He prays for water. At first, he screams. Then he digs. Then he runs toward every mirage. Nothing comes. But when he finally drops to his knees, not from defeat, but from surrender, and whispers, "I trust you," a soft rain begins to fall. Not because he demanded, but because he aligned. This isn't just a story. It's a mirror. It's the lesson the universe is offering you now. Stop trying to drive your destiny. Your greatest act of power is to trust the path, even when it looks nothing like what you expected. This week, I encourage you to engage in a ritual, not as performance, but as presence. Light a candle in sapphire blue or deep lavender. These aren't just colors, they are vibrational energies. Sapphire calms your mind, protects your frequency, and opens the throat chakra so that your inner voice can speak clearly. Lavender soothes the emotional body, helping you release attachments gently and without fear. As the flame flickers, write down 3 things that you are ready to release: fears, false beliefs, expectations that keep you in the illusion of control. Then, allow the candle to consume that paper. Watch it burn. Not in pain, but in freedom. Let it symbolize the release of what is not yours to carry anymore. And as you do, allow healing frequencies to fill the space, specifically 432 Hz, a resonance known to calm the nervous system and bring your body back into energetic alignment. Let the sound remind your cells that safety doesn't come from certainty, it comes from surrender. Sit in the stillness. Let it be enough. Remember this truth, Scorpio: you were never asked to be perfect. You were only ever asked to be honest. Honest with yourself. Honest with your longing. Honest enough to say, I don't know the way, but I trust that one has been made for me. This level of surrender is not weakness. It is the quiet roar of courage. It is your soul stepping back so the divine can step forward. You are not lost. You are being led. And the less you try to control the outcome, the more clearly you will see the signs. This is not about abandoning your dreams, it's about releasing the belief that you alone must make them happen. Let life surprise you. Let grace rearrange the plan. Let the current carry you to places your mind could never imagine, but your heart has always known. So Scorpio, now is not the time to grip the wheel. Now is the time to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and whisper, "Take me where I was always meant to go." Because when you stop trying to lead and start trusting what's already leading you, you don't lose direction, you finally arrive. Scorpio, after all this unraveling, after the cosmic whispers, the sacred pause, the surrender of control, there remains one quiet but urgent question pulsing at the heart of your journey. Who are you in the divine order of this moment? Not what do you do, not what have you achieved, but who are you becoming beneath it all? And more importantly, who were you always meant to be? Perhaps what you're falling into right now feels too big, too uncertain, or too heavy. But what if this isn't chaos? What if this is orchestration? What if this moment was designed not to destroy you, but to deliver you, to awaken something ancient inside you that was written long before you knew your name? Because Scorpio, if you're honest, haven't you felt it too? That flicker in your soul, like a lantern being relit. That deep inner knowing that says, this is more than just about me. You see, the question is not whether life is pushing you. The question is whether you are ready to answer. You're not here to live a recycled version of someone else's path. You're not here to repeat patterns passed down through generations. You were born with the strength to break the chain, to close the chapter, and to write a new beginning for your lineage, not just forward into the future, but backward, too. You are the one that shifts the frequency in your family line. You are the one whose courage liberates those who came before and clears the path for those who will come after. This is not about perfection. It's about permission. Permission to evolve, to expand, to become. When the weight of expectation tries to silence you, remember this: you were not placed in this lifetime to blend in. You were placed here because your voice carries the code to disrupt complacency. Your presence shifts energy fields. Your very being challenges spiritual stagnation. And that is why this moment feels so prescient, because the call has finally caught up to you. Think of Esther, in the ancient stories. She wasn't just placed in the palace for comfort or decoration. She was placed there because destiny needed someone with the heart to speak, to rise, and to risk. And perhaps the same is true for you. And who knows, the verse asks, whether you have come to your position for such a time as this. Maybe this is your such a time. Maybe you are not falling apart, you are falling into purpose. Maybe the uncertainty isn't a threat, it's a compass. And maybe what you're stepping into now isn't random, it's righteous. I invite you to look at your life through this lens. What if nothing is wrong? What if everything is being recalibrated for something holy you cannot yet name? Your pain, your hesitation, your longing, they are not flaws. They are signals. They are part of the sacred language your soul speaks when it's being initiated into its higher role. You're not here to bypass the hardship. You're here to alchemize it into wisdom, compassion, and unshakable presence. So let me ask you, as gently as I can, what if the discomfort you feel now is not punishment, but preparation? What if your soul chose this exact configuration of challenge and timing because it knew you would remember how to turn pressure into power, endings into awakenings, silence into strategy? What if you are not behind schedule, but right on divine time? If something inside you has been whispering that you are being called into a higher purpose, this is your confirmation. You are. Not because you need to prove anything, but because you've already lived enough to carry it well. You've walked through shadows. You've faced your own depths. You know what it means to rebuild with nothing but breath and grit. That is not weakness. That is authority. So if you feel the pull, if you know you're standing on the edge of something that could rewrite your entire internal universe, don't look away. Don't play small. Say it out loud, I am not afraid anymore. I choose to step into my divine assignment. Declare it in the comments if you feel moved, not just for algorithmic engagement, but as a sacred affirmation. Because the moment you name it, the moment you say yes, is the moment heaven and earth begin to rearrange themselves to meet you where you're going. Scorpio, this is not a detour. It's an activation. The weight you're feeling isn't meant to break you. It's meant to remind you that you are being trusted with something sacred. You are not just a witness to transformation. You are the catalyst. And in the eyes of the universe, that is no small thing. You are the one your ancestors whispered about. The one the future waits for. And right now, yes, right now you are exactly where you're meant to be. Scorpio, if you've made it this far with me, take a deep breath. Let it all settle. Because what you've just heard, what you've been asked to consider, is more than information, it's an invitation. Not to act immediately. Not to prove anything. But to pause. To surrender. To trust that when you stop forcing, when you step aside and let divine timing lead, the very things you were chasing start flowing toward you. This kind of surrender isn't easy, especially for someone like you. You've been taught to fight, to survive, to never let go. But maybe that's why you were chosen for this exact moment. Because when someone like you, so strong, so intuitive, so full of fire, learns to lay it all down and trust, that surrender becomes a signal. It tells the universe, I'm no longer trying to control my path. I'm aligning with it. That's not weakness. That's alignment. And in alignment, there is peace. I want to remind you of something that perhaps no one has said to you in a long time. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to not know. You're allowed to breathe before the next big thing. And more than that, you're allowed to receive without effort, without proving, without resistance. Sometimes the most powerful shift begins not with a leap, but with a gentle release. What if everything that feels heavy right now is only here to teach you that you're not alone? What if your uncertainty is the very doorway through which wisdom will enter? What if this moment, the one where you chose to slow down and listen, is already changing your trajectory in ways you can't yet see? So I'll ask you now, gently but clearly, what are you ready to stop holding on to? What can you surrender, just for today, in exchange for peace? What would it mean for you to trust, not because the path is clear, but because your spirit is ready? If this message found its way into your heart, I'd love for you to share that with me. Leave a comment below with the number 888, not for me, but as a declaration to the universe that you're ready to align. You're ready to be led. You're ready to let go of what's not yours to carry. And if this video stirred something in you, even just a little, I hope you'll like it and subscribe to this space we're building here at Miracle of the Sign. Every moment you choose to return here, you're not just supporting this channel, you're re-anchoring yourself more deeply in the wisdom that's already living inside you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to speak into your journey. Your presence means more than you know. You are not average, Scorpio. You are not here by accident. You are chosen. And when you choose to pause, when you choose to trust, the entire sky begins to move in your favor.